All right, it's the Believe in Texans and Believe in Jaguars crossover special. Doing the second time this year with Bucky Brooks, a man who my radio host and I agreed this morning is older according to Wikipedia than we realized. Bucky,
Oh,
and
yeah?
I should have known you were. I was on the same team as you, and I knew you were older than me at the time. But there's something about your youthful demeanor and the name Bucky, I think, that makes me think of you as perpetually 35 and just retired.
Oh, how about that? I appreciate that. I'll go with that. I
Yeah.
can't complain about being younger than you anticipated.
Bucky Brooks, ex NFL player, analyst, NFL media, Fox Sports, and of course, Believe in Jaguars. Bucky, I think yesterday was a good time to kind of. It's a midpoint of the season. It's the trade deadline, and you kind of start to get a vibe check on fan bases around the league. And in Houston, I'll tell you, not so hot right now. People people are not excited about Davis Mills. They're not happy about the record. And I'm just wondering, I kind of try to check in on Jacksonville and read the blogs and look at social media. It feels like Jacksonville, despite having a winning record, it's a little bit of the same. Not as miserable as the Texans fan base, but still not quite sure about things.
I think the thing in Jacksonville is slow to believing that this team is for real.
Mhm.
Given the lack of success the franchise has had over the last decade plus, they're kind of reluctant to jump all in. And even though we can tell you things are different, being inside the building, being around the coaching staff, being around the new front office structure, everyone is still like wait and see. And because the team is sitting at 5-3, they're coming off a tight win against the Raiders, which was really lucky at the end in terms of like how fortunate Devon Hamilton was to knock that down because it was somewhat open in the back of the end zone. Yeah, there's still an element of the fan base that is like, yeah, we're good, but are we really? And so that's where we're at. But I don't know. I mean, I think the people inside feel like it's different because the vibe is different between the players and the coaches, et cetera.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. And obviously it's always hazardous to try to generalize any group of people or fan base or anything. But it seems like Liam Cohen so far has really impressed a lot of people.
Yeah, I would say, Seth, you would love to play for him because I think as a player, you always appreciate direct and transparent. If someone is direct with you, even if you don't like what it is, at least you know it's black or white. Transparent in terms of like detailing the why behind the decisions, the why behind the play calls, and those things. You can respect that, particularly if they're also willing to own their mistakes when they make a mistake. What he's done a really good job of, and it reminds me of like a high school team in terms of the coaches are really connected with the players. And you know how uncommon it is to hear pro players talk about, man, I just really love playing hard for this guy. People love playing hard, but it's rare that they play for their coaches in the National Football League. That's more of a high school thing where the high school coach kind of triggers something in you where you want to reward him by putting on your best. That's kind of what this feeling is here. And because that feel, they've been able to win some games that they probably shouldn't have based on who they were playing with in terms of the backups and role players that were thrust into prominent roles.
Yeah, and the Texans, it's a lot of one-score games. Some of the games against the better teams, though, it might have been technically a one-score game. It's just that the Rams beat them. The Bucks, the Texans lost a close game too. That was a
Mhm.
genuine close game. But the last time the Texans played the Jaguars, obviously went the Jaguars' way, and the biggest concern that I still have in this game, and it's interesting that I think Jags fans might not feel this same way about Josh Hines Allen. Because Josh Hines Allen only has 2 sacks on the year, but that game, I mean, he single handedly sealed the game for him by hitting
Mhm.
C.J. Stroud's arm as he was throwing the ball. And Ariante Aristri, the rookie left tackle, had a rough go of it against Josh Hines Allen. The whole left side of the offensive line really had our time versus those guys. But then the Jaguars, as a pass rushing unit, haven't been that great. But I'm sitting and I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm nervous about that defensive line. Like, why do they not have more sacks?
You know, it's funny because they don't have a lot of sacks, but the pressure rate has been pretty good. Like they've been
Hmm.
able to produce a high number of turnovers because the pressure has been consistent, with the exception of 2 games. I would say the Seattle Seahawks game and the Los Angeles Rams game, they weren't able to create disruptive plays. But every other game, they've been close in terms of getting in the paint. They just haven't been able to get the quarterback or get them all the way to the ground. Josh Hines Allen is someone that you need to be concerned about because he's the best pass rusher of that group. When you have him and Eric Armstead at an interior force and Trayvon Walker, like they have big guys that can come after you and they're physical at the point of attack in terms of the way they rush the passer. So it's someone that you got to pay attention to. I can't say that he is a single weapon, a one-man wrecking ball that can tear up everything. But if you let him get going early, he can make for a long day because he is a guy that is relentless in his approach.
Yeah, that's and Ariante Isri has improved. I thought, he's had a bunch of tough rookie snaps last week versus Nick Benito. I was wondering if they were going to leave him on an island out against Ariante Isri on an island against Nick Benito, and they did. And he had some rough rookie snaps, but he also did better by and large than I thought he would. So going from week 3 until week 10 now, I'm really intrigued by that. The other part about the Jaguars, I know that the Texans share, is that they're just like a lot of teams in the NFL right now. They're just really banged up. Was it 6? You only had 5 defensive starters on the field by the end of the Raiders game. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, they were playing anybody and everybody. I mean, it was a mash ward, and it may be more the same when they line up and play on Sunday. This is a unit that is just beat up. I mean, Jordan Lewis went out. Trayvon Walker was ejected. Devin Lloyd didn't suit up the game. You have Eric Murray on IR. I mean, there's a host of guys that have kind of been in and out of the lineup. To their credit, though, the guys who have stepped in and had to play have played well in terms of just being on the same page. You know, it's funny because it's I would say it's similar to what I think about when I think about the Buffalo Bills and the way they play defense. It's not necessarily the individuals that get you, it's the collective. It's how they play together. It's how they put the pieces of the puzzle together. You look up and various guys are making plays, and they're making plays because another part of their defense is dominating their job, which creates opportunities for other people if they do their respective job.
Hey, I didn't see it yet. What did Trayvon Walker do to get ejected?
You know what y'all do down there in the trenches, like a little uppercut, little push, little punch that they call the punch. I mean, nothing out of the ordinary. Something we see in training camp every
Yeah.
day. Nothing
Yeah.
crazy, but he probably did it right in front of the official, which is a no. So they just happened to see it.
You got to be sly with that stuff. You weren't on the team at the time when Zach Weger, maybe you were. Zach Weger punched. I can't remember who it was. It was like he threw a 3-punch combo. It was the most impressive thing I've ever seen of a guy who was punching somebody with his helmet on, but managed to like catch the guy in the chin twice. Almost like in my mind, in my memory. So it was the Jaguars, and I want to say it was versus somebody from the Dolphins. But it was like when you beat up Glass Joe and Punch Out.
Yes,
Remember how
it's
you
the
could come
last
up under
one.
Glass Joe? Yeah, and you come up like that. That's how I remember it. Is that Dolphins player like went up in the air? It was an impressive combo. That was worth getting kicked out for, I think.
Trayvon did not get his money's worth in this one. Like if you give him a game check, he didn't get his money's worth like that. He has to either learn how to do it discreetly where you gut him. You know what I'm saying? It's like a little to the solar plexus that no one sees in the middle of a pile. You can't do it right in front of the official, though. You can't let him see you like lay one out.
No. We used to have. I don't think guys do as much as they used to because there's just so many cameras everywhere. But there was a guy named Matt O'Dwyer from the Bengals who was just we hated each other, and but he was, and it was all his fault. I'll maintain that. I think he would agree because he's one of these guys that would just. If you're turned, it was a pass, you turn to run, he just shove you in the back, any kind of pile. He's like elbowing you and everything. And it was this stuff, man, you try to get up, and he was smart about it. It was always stuff that just looked like it was a continuation of the play. And like you said, you got to try to get your shots in when you can. So it's almost always just like the ball's away, and it's the one that I know I can't get to, to chase. So I'm like looking for refs and then punching them in the ribs. That's back when that's back when there was a code.
Yes, a code for sure.
So Trevor Lawrence, tell me about just where he is learning, because CJ, I think CJ, until he got injured, it was a pretty long process of, all right, it's coming in fits and starts. there's times where it just looked like he wasn't comfortable, or there were also times where it just looked like the receivers weren't, they had spacing issues. It looked like the receivers weren't really picking up the scheme. And then they got to a point where if they were facing an injured defense like the Ravens, or maybe like the Jaguars would be this week, he could find his matchups and just kill defenses. But it was only the defense that were kind of beleaguered. The 49ers, who had a bunch of injuries and are still learning to deal with it. But versus the better defenses, it was just kind of clunky. But it looked like things might really be starting to click for him. And obviously now we won't know about it for a week or two. So how's Trevor Lawrence doing?
I would say Trevor has really improved leaps and bounds in a few different areas. His pre-snap management is the best that I've seen in his career since I've kind of rejoined the squad. Watching him operate everything in the line of scrimmage, the way that he controls run, pass, check with me's in the running game, all that. Like, he has complete command of the offense. He's shown flashes of being what the team wants him to be, or what they paid him to be, which is a franchise quarterback, by making some serious dime throws. The part that he still has to work on, I would say, is the consistency, because in this league, the difference between average to good to great is the consistency of the quarterback, not only in terms of the overall performance, but the details when it comes to accuracy, ball placement, anticipation and timing, avoidance of the big mistake because the game is under control. Trevor still has to progress in those areas because he has too many egregious errors in inopportune moments. He has to squash that and eliminate from his game. And then this team and him, they will have an opportunity to go to the next level.
What's going on with the pass protection? Because I thought that Jaguars' offensive line was doing pretty well, and then I see that he's been sacked at least 5 times in each of the last 3 games.
I will say this. I would say he ran into buzzsaws against the Seattle Seahawks and the LA Rams.
Oh, yeah.
Those two front lines, I mean, it, Seth, because you guys had a
Yeah.
chance to see them. Like, they get after it. They're relentless. I mean, they're super athletic and physical at the point of attack, and they're explosive. And when you put the combination of their physical traits with a scheme that creates some one-on-one opportunities for anybody and everybody on the line, it can overwhelm you. And when you got to the Seattle Seahawks and you got to the Rams, they just couldn't hold up. I mean, it was just, they overwhelmed them. The Raiders game was a little weird because it felt like they were solid overall and then just had some leaks as the war of attrition kind of won out. But overall, particularly last week, they were pretty good. But they were pretty good because they were able to run the football, utilize some play action, do some different things. The whole key for the Jags is how effective they are running the ball. Because if they can run the football, it just takes pressure off of everybody. Trevor, the offensive line, everybody that's a part of it. The running game is critical, and it helps in so many ways to get the passing game on track.
Texans are 1.5 point favorites by FanDuel at this point. I think the NRG Stadium advantage, a lot of it just comes down to the Texans pass rush. They're so good in that stadium, and that the Texans are another team like the Jaguars that, like, they've been rushing the passer really well, but they don't have a boatload of sacks. I think one of the things they do a good job, Bucky, you'd appreciate this, of Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. They're pretty disciplined. Like, they don't. There's a lot of times where they squeeze the pocket and they keep guys in the pocket more so than just being so hungry for the sack, and you force interceptions and everything. But at this point, I think the Texans have been 1.5 to 2 point favorites at home in each of their last 3 games, including this one. And obviously the Broncos one didn't go so hot. But you guys, the Jaguars have a bunch of injuries too. It's trade deadline. You trade for Jakobi Meyers as Travis Hunter remains on IR. And then there's other injuries with the receivers now as well, right?
Yeah, so Travis Hunter is on IR. Brian Thomas Jr. is nursing an ankle injury. We'll see if he's up and available. One of the main reasons they got Jakobi Meyers had a little to do with the injuries, but more to do with his consistency. One of the things that have plagued the Jaguars, and I'll just be honest, they've dropped too many passes, leaders in drops. They just drop balls all over the place. I mean, some would say concentration drops. Some would say just, I don't know. I've never seen a team drop as many passes as the Jaguars have. Well, in Jakobi Meyers, you have someone with a career drop percentage of 1.8%. So you're talking about someone that's dependable, reliable, an old vet. He's well liked in the building because Edgar Bennett was his wide receiver coach a year ago with the Las Vegas Raiders. There was a connection with him having played with Tony Baselli's son, so he could speak to the character. And there was an overall belief that he was going to be a great fit in the locker room. And look, every team always talks about cultural fits when they bring people in, but they have really tried to prioritize making sure they have the right kind of guys in this group. And Jakobi Meyers, by all accounts, is the right kind of guy.
Yeah, that's one of the strangest things about a football team when you trade for somebody or just free agents. You know how it is.
Mhm.
Like I've seen so many guys. Well, back in the day when I was in Jacksonville, Bryce Pop was a classic
Yeah.
one where they signed Bryce Pop, and I remember being in the huddle with Bryce on the first day of like mini camps, and Bryce saying something like. I don't know if they're expecting me to cover tight ends because that ain't me. And I'm like, I think they're expecting you to cover tight ends because he'd been up in Buffalo, basically. You know, it's an outside
Rushing the
linebacker.
passer. Yeah.
Yeah, just opposite of Bruce Smith. And Bryce was awesome, but it was an odd signing given that they signed him expecting him to be a different type of player, and they liked him for all the things that he could do, but they asked him to do a little bit more. But some of it too is, you know, Bryce is a great culture fit anywhere he goes. But sometimes it is just that guys, for whatever reason, it's the relationship with the coach or,
Mhm.
you know, with a receiver. I would imagine the relationship with the quarterback. Sometimes it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, look, as much as we talk about the X's and O's, this game really is about the Jimmys and Joes and the connectivity and chemistry that they can build amongst each other. And when you talk about it, when you watch the Texans, a lot of times it's the free agents, the draftees, the undrafted guys that are coming in and out. How do they mesh with the guys? We've all been in huddles where 10 guys feel one way and the other guy feels differently. Everyone looks at him like he's the oddball. We all look around when they sign somebody as a free agent and we're in the weight room doing off-season program, we're like, this dude ain't even like us at
Yeah.
all. Like
Yeah.
he's not even close to what we talk about wanting to have in the locker room. Who signed him? You know?
Yeah.
And when it doesn't mesh, I mean, it can be hard, particularly if it's a big money player who is expected to have a big role and maybe some leadership responsibilities. If we can't feel your authenticity, it's going to be hard for that connection to last the test of time.
Cam Little. Okay, two big things we haven't gotten to yet is one, the Cam Little 68-yard field goal, and then we've got to get to the Sauce Gardner trade because that affects both of the teams that we're talking about here. But Cam Little 68-yard field goal, and it's big news. I have a hard time getting excited about field goals in general. I'm not trying to diminish the accomplishment or anything, but I also know that Cam Little he went through a rough stretch there where he just wasn't making a lot of kicks. Has he gotten himself back on track?
You know, here's the thing about Cam Little. He was struggling. I mean, he was struggling mightily heading into the bye week. And when they trotted him out there for the 68-yarder, I was like, well, he's either going to nail this right down the middle or it's going to be like the worst snap hook that any golfer has ever seen because he
Yeah.
doesn't have any confidence. And, you know, like Seth, he hit it pure, man. I mean, he hit it like you could hear the thump of the ball. And then you look up, you're like, man, it has a chance. And I can tell you, in watching him, it was like the weight of the world was lifted off his shoulders.
Yeah.
One of the things and one of the problems that occurs when you have a great preseason where you hit a 70-yarder, well, now the expectation is every time you try it out there, you're not only going to make it, but you're going to make it with flair and pizzazz because it's going to end up near the top of the flags. And I think as a player, you put this internal pressure to go with the external pressure of the fan base and everything else. And he just didn't have a good time. But after nailing that 68-yarder, man, he was money on the following kicks. He was great on the kickoffs. After that, he had a great performance. And for the Jags, that is critical because they believe he is one of their best players because he is so clutch when it comes to nailing the kicks from 40 plus.
We're calling him he might be his problem might be that he's a sober Janikowski. They're like Sebastian Janikowski. Who knows what state of mind he was in? He just didn't think about it. He just went, you know. So yeah, okay, you got to get out of your own head. Sauce Gardner goes to the Colts, and this is where I am because I see everybody giving the Colts bad grades for spending as much as they did to get Sauce Gardner, and I agree on paper that it's probably not a smart move to spend that much on a
Mhm.
cornerback. And yet at the same time, it's kind of like if my enemy goes out and buys a shotgun that's too expensive, I'm not going to criticize his financial decisions. Like I got to worry about that shotgun that he's coming after me with. That for right here and right now, and especially with the Jaguars, who are in much better playoff position than the Texans, that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. But I think what Chris Ballard and those guys recognize, one, they obviously felt like they were a quarterback away. Maybe they resolved it with Daniel Jones. That then gives you the freedom to be like, hey, let's go all in on this brief era. Like it may be a 2 or 3 year window that we have to do it. Let's make sure we surround him with the best possible team that we can because he's proven that he can take care of the ball, with the exception of the game that he had against the Pittsburgh Steelers. For Sauce Gardner, this is landing in a defense that is more his fit. He's really good bump and run man to man. He has some ability to play in these hybrid zones. You have a defensive coordinator in Lou Anarumo. He's a former DB coach who understands how to maybe unlock some of the things that have been troubling Sauce Gardner. I love it. I love it for them. I hate it for us because this is a team that you started worrying about, like when they got off to the fast start and they discovered that Daniel Jones can play and play in this system. You got Jonathan Taylor. You got a big offensive line that is getting after it, a turnover-obsessed defense, and a very creative defensive coordinator. They're a problem. And now I'm scared that, they're going to be a problem the whole year.
Yeah, yeah, the Daniel Jones dynamic. I don't know if you had like who's the next because Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, the probably 4 or 5 other guys I'm forgetting about. Well, Geno Smith when he was in Seattle. Who's the guy right now you think who's a beleaguered quarterback, like a Kyler Murray perhaps, that you think
Mhm.
is somewhere like 2 or 3 years from now, all of a sudden, yep, that he was good all along. We just didn't know it.
Um, I'll say Mac Jones. Mac
Yeah,
Jones and his performance in San Francisco in that system. Remember, because when Mac Jones was coming out, the rumors were that Kyle Shanahan liked him at number 3. He was supposedly talked into Trey Lance. That didn't work. And now Mac Jones is back with him, and Mac Jones has won a handful of games. Mac Jones has looked every bit the playmaker that some envisioned when they put a first round grade on him. And if you're Kyle Shanahan, you feel great about um, your quarterback situation because your backup is playing like a starter. And if you're Mac Jones, I think Mac Jones has a ridiculous incentive where every game that he starts from this point on, every time they win, he gets like a $400,000 little bonus. Oh man,
oh really?
I'm telling that Brock Purdy, day, you don't worry about coming back. I got you. Get
Hey,
get
turf
get
toe,
fully
man.
healthy. Get
Yeah.
fully healthy. I got you, or whatever. But he set himself up nicely to hit the open market for a team that runs a similar system to be able to be that QB1.
Yeah. The over under on FanDuel right now in this game is 38.5. And I don't know about you guys, but I have feels like I haven't seen 40 on an over under in a long time for the Texans because the Texans defense is playing so well and the offense is what it's been. But
Uh, yeah,
yeah, I
I
don't know.
mean,
Like, yeah, would you? Well, I mean, now it's Davis Mills. I'm trying to talk myself into Davis Mills this week, man. I'm watching the good plays from last week, but it's like every quarterback that's not a starting quarterback, they're all capable of making really nice throws. And Davis Mills had a couple of really nice throws in that
mm,
game, but it's just that it's the easy throws that you don't make. It's some of the decisions you make. And he went in last week on cold in the middle of a game, hadn't taken all the reps that week. So I think you'll see a better performance out of him this week. But it's just, Davis has just never taken that proverbial next step.
I will say this about Davis Mills. I would
Here
be
you go. Yes.
worried. No, I would be worried now that he has time to prepare for the start. It's one thing
Yeah.
to go in cold. It's another thing to have a play caller who doesn't really know what he does well. Well, now they spend the entire week kind of working through that, building a game plan that's suited just for him. So, what do you like? What don't you like? What can we do more of? How can we recycle this same concept a million different times with different formations and shifts and motions? That's what the Texans will do heading into this game. I expect to see the best version of Davis because now he's prepared, he's ready, he know he's going to start, and the coaches and team knows that. I think he'll fare better given an opportunity to start with a full week of preparation.
Bucky, really appreciate it. Probably see you. I'll duck in. I'll see you at the food line there at halftime.
Oh, Oh, y'all
when you
got a
guys
nice
get.
one. Y'all got a nice little
Yeah,
spread there. I will say that. And one thing I can't complain. A nice spread there. Nice
it
little
is
spread.
nice. I'm legitimately not I don't try to do intermittent fasting or anything, but I'll legitimately like, I'm a boa constrictor after one of those home games. Like, I won't it'll be like 3 o'clock on Monday afternoon, and I'm like, "Oh, I think I'm hungry again." But I haven't eaten since, like, halftime of the Texans game. I stuffed myself like a Christmas goose at that thing.
I mean, it's a nice little spread. Hopefully, though, it'll be a nice spread. My team will walk away with the win. It used to be your team, but you don't claim us anymore. So
I go, "Well,
my team.
this is what happened, all right? It's like they booted me out of the house, okay? And I found they embraced me in Houston, and I'm like, "Oh, all right. I mean, I had a great time in Jacksonville, but you guys booted me out the door." And I took it personal, man. I wasn't I had yeah, this is what happened. Let me tell you a story. I was uh I was sitting at my house on Tradewinds Avenue in Jacksonville. And in Jacksonville, this is across it's on the west side of the Intracoastal, and I had just put a pool in my house because man, I was going to be in Jacksonville my whole career. I knew it, and I'm writing the final check to the pool contractor who had built my pool. And I had put a
No.
dock in my canal and everything, and I hadn't bought a boat yet. Even I just had a dock and no boat. And I get the call from Tom Coughlin, and I know what it is. I know it's the expansion draft, because we were in cap trouble and everything. And all I'm
Hmm.
thinking is Tom is telling me very nicely about all, he's saying nice things to me and everything. He's like, man, you don't get that. You don't get that in the resale when you have a pool. That it doesn't boost the product. I just pissed like tens of thousands of dollars down the drain.
So
Yeah.
mad. So mad. So mad. I can relate. I think I have not with the Jags, I have a Green Bay Packers story where right before Thanksgiving, Seth, had just flown everybody in to come in. I think we were playing the Thursday game. I think, no, we were playing that weekend, but everyone had just come in. And I get the call to come back to the facility. And I'm like, this ain't good. Not on a
Yeah.
Wednesday. Not
Oh.
not not do not do not on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Like certainly they're not calling me in for. And there you go.
Yeah.
Not a good
Oh,
Thanksgiving. Not a good
that
Thanksgiving in Green
stinks,
Bay.
man.
Yeah, not a
Oh,
good Thanksgiving.
I went back to Jacksonville in what would have been my 11th season. I was coming off of an ACL, and I was kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, like almost literally, because I wasn't sure my knee was good. And I turned down a couple offers in the off season because I just wanted to get my body right. But I was rehabbing on my own, and it's just never the same when you're doing
No.
it on your own. I thought I was working hard, but it's not the same. And but I ended up signing with Jacksonville because we had moved back to Jacksonville, and I come in and I knew I was in trouble when they told me like, "Well, hey, we've got your sizes and everything," and like I had gotten signed like a day or two before a preseason game, but they were going to play me in the preseason game, so I hadn't worn football pants yet, and so
Ooh.
they gave me my old uniform, got my old number, and everything like that, but I put on my game pants and they're baggy. I'm like, oh no. like,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I did not have the same mass in my legs. And I played like it. I played like it. All
Not
right,
great.
hey Bucky,
Not great.
I'll see you on Sunday, man. We'll have a good one this Sunday.
Hey, we will, man.